Welcome, chosen ones. Jealousy is like a boomerang. You throw it out, but it always comes back harder. Let's face it, being the target of envy isn't easy. You didn't ask for the spotlight, yet here you are shining so brightly that it unsettles others. Their jealousy isn't about you, it's about their insecurities and their frustration with what they lack. And here's the truth, you're chosen for a reason. You've been given strength, resilience, and a purpose that others can't understand. And that's why they target you. But guess what? Karma is already on your side. This isn't about revenge, it's about the balance of life. Every lie they told, every jab they took, and every ounce of negativity they threw your way is about to bounce back on them. Your job isn't to fight fire with fire, it's to keep rising above while the universe handles the dirty work. So if you're feeling overwhelmed, know this. You're built for this. You're stronger, smarter, and destined for greatness. Stay focused, because their downfall is proof that the universe doesn't mess around with chosen ones. Watch this video to see how it all unfolds and why your enemies are about to regret coming for you. Number 1. Their best laid plans will turn against them. When people plot against you, they think they're playing chess, setting up moves to corner you. What they don't realize is that karma always flips the board. Their carefully crafted plans, designed to trip you up, often end up collapsing under their own weight. It's poetic justice at its finest. The trap they set for you becomes the very pit they fall into. Here's the thing about scheming. It requires precision, focus, and secrecy. But jealousy and bitterness cloud judgment. They get sloppy, overconfident, and reckless, convinced that their plan is foolproof. What they don't account for is karma's knack for making things go sideways. The lies they spread get exposed, the alliances they've built crumble, and the opportunities they've sabotaged swing right back in your favor. Their efforts don't just fail, they backfire in ways they never imagined. Maybe they tried to discredit you at work, only for their own flaws to come to light. Or they rallied others against you, only to have those people turn on them instead. Karma has a way of amplifying the chaos they created, leaving them scrambling to explain why everything is falling apart. And while they're busy dealing with the fallout, you're thriving. Their energy wasted on plotting your downfall could have been spent building themselves up. Instead, it's left them with nothing but frustration and a mess of their own making. The ultimate irony is that their downfall isn't just karmic, it's self-inflicted. By trying to play dirty, they exposed their own weaknesses and ensured their own failure. Karma didn't need to lift a finger, it simply let their own actions do the work. And in the end, they're left realizing the truth. Plotting against someone else is just another way of sabotaging yourself. Number 2, they'll be forced to watch you win. The harshest blow karma delivers to jealous people is also the most poetic. They're forced to sit back and watch you win. And it's not just any win, it's the kind that makes their every effort to sabotage you feel like a joke. Your success becomes a mirror, reflecting their failures and insecurities back at them over and over again. Here's the thing. They expected their schemes, gossip, and bitterness to hold you back. What they didn't expect was that you'd rise above it all, stronger and more focused than ever. Every milestone you hit, every goal you achieve, is a reminder that their negativity was powerless against you. And the kicker, the more they obsess over your success, the more it eats them alive. It's not just about your accomplishments, it's about the fact that they wasted time trying to stop you instead of building themselves. While they were plotting against you, you were putting in the work, staying disciplined, and refusing to be distracted. Now, your wins are stacking up, and they're left with nothing but regret. And karma doesn't stop there. It makes sure your success is visible. Whether it's through a promotion they wanted, a relationship they envied, or the happiness they tried to ruin. They'll see it everywhere, unable to escape the reality that you're thriving while they're stuck in the same cycle of jealousy and bitterness. The ultimate punishment isn't your success. It's their realization that they could have been winning too, if only they'd focused on their own path instead of trying to derail yours. Now, they're left to watch from the sidelines, knowing they had a front row seat to their own downfall. That's karma, delivering justice with a side of poetic irony. Number 3. Life will give them a taste of their own medicine. Life has an uncanny way of making sure that those who deal in betrayal and negativity experience the same pain they've caused others. It doesn't happen overnight, and it doesn't always come in the form we expect, but when it hits, it's undeniable. Those who have spent their time tearing others down, plotting behind backs, or betraying trust will eventually face their own taste of betrayal. The people they've hurt will distance themselves, the loyalty they took for granted will vanish, and the sense of control they once felt will crumble. It's not just about karma coming for them, it's about life itself, delivering lessons that sting. Betrayal has a way of finding its way back to those who thought they could get away with it. They'll find themselves in situations where the very trust they once betrayed is shattered in return, and those who once supported them will pull away. The world they tried to build by stepping on others will collapse under the weight of their own actions. But it doesn't stop there. Life knows how to pile it on. Just when they think they've weathered one storm, another wave of bad luck hits them harder than before. The opportunities they once thought were theirs will slip through their fingers. The people they tried to use will turn their backs, and their own plans will implode, leaving them to pick up the pieces of a life they'd tried to destroy. In the end, they'll be left with nothing but the overwhelming taste of their own medicine. It's not just poetic justice, it's life's way of proving that those who harm others will eventually face the consequences of their actions. The universe always finds a way to balance the scales, no matter how long it takes. Number 4. The universe has a brutal sense of humor. Karma is never just about fairness. It's a master of irony. The universe has a twisted sense of humor, especially when it comes to those who think they can destroy someone else's life. The moment they try to tear you down, they set themselves up for situations that are almost laughable in their timing. Their jealousy, instead of giving them what they want, winds up putting them in scenarios that mirror the very things they tried to destroy in your life. For instance, they might have gone out of their way to discredit you at work, only to find themselves facing the same scrutiny and doubt from their own colleagues. Or maybe they've worked tirelessly to undermine your relationships, only to watch their own circle of friends dissolve because of their bitterness. It's as if the universe is sitting back, enjoying the show, and delivering the punchline at the most unexpected moments. What makes it even more satisfying is that it's not just about them losing. They end up living out the consequences of their own actions. It's as if the universe says, "You wanted to make them feel small? Well, here's a taste of that feeling, only this time it's you on the receiving end." They're forced to experience the very same setbacks, disappointments, and failures they tried to inflict on you. Only they don't have your resilience or strength to bounce back. Karma's humor isn't cruel. It's a reminder that the energy we put out into the world always comes back, often in ways we least expect. The universe doesn't just deliver justice, it makes sure the joke is on them. And by the time they realize it, it's too late to reverse the damage they've done. Number 4. Karma doesn't follow a schedule, but it's always on time. Karma doesn't wear a watch, but it has an impeccable sense of timing. It's not in a hurry, and it doesn't operate on anyone's expectations. People who thrive on jealousy and deceit often think they've dodged consequences because nothing happens right away. They mistake the quiet for escape, unaware that karma is simply watching, waiting, and calculating. When it finally strikes, it's not random, it's deliberate, hitting them at the exact moment they're most vulnerable. It's not about instant payback, it's about precision. Karma lets them build a false sense of security, lulling them into thinking they've won, that their schemes and bitterness had no repercussions. But life has a way of balancing itself out, and karma's sense of justice is poetic. When it shows up, it hits where it hurts the most. Relationships they've neglected, opportunities they've sabotaged, or reputations they thought were untouchable. The beauty of karma is in its unpredictability. It doesn't shout its arrival. It just walks in unannounced, flipping their world upside down. By the time they realize what's happening, it's too late. The foundations they thought were solid crumble under the weight of their own actions. Meanwhile, you're thriving, untouched by their negativity, because you stayed focused on your own path. That's the part they'll never understand. Karma doesn't reward or punish based on who shouts the loudest. It simply reflects what's been put into the world. So, while they're blindsided by karma's arrival, you're proof that staying true to yourself is the ultimate shield. Let them think they've won for now. Karma isn't on anyone's clock, but it always shows up right on time, delivering exactly what they deserve. Number 5. They'll be exhausted from fighting battles they created. Karma's brilliance lies in its subtlety. Instead of directly confronting those who try to harm others, it simply lets them exhaust themselves by fighting battles they've created. Every attempt to undermine you, every piece of negativity they send your way, only serves to drain their energy, leaving them worn out and defeated in the end. They don't realize it, but the more they focus on tearing you down, the more they're entangling themselves in a web of their own making. They think they're winning by causing trouble in your life, but the truth is, they're the ones running on empty. Their bitterness, resentment, and jealousy are like a constant drain on their mental and emotional resources. Every petty move they make demands more of their attention, their energy, and their time, while you remain focused, steady, and unshaken. Meanwhile, they keep digging a deeper hole for themselves, all while believing they're getting away with it. They'll soon find themselves trapped in a cycle of conflict, constantly battling unseen forces and fighting shadows they've cast themselves. Every step they take to sabotage you only adds more weight to their shoulders, and eventually they'll be so fatigued from their own actions that they'll have nothing left to give. The effort to maintain their toxic behavior will burn them out completely, leaving them with nothing but a sense of frustration and self-inflicted defeat. While they wear themselves down with needless conflict, you are quietly moving forward, unaffected by their chaos. Karma's genius is in letting them destroy their own peace, ensuring that the battles they created are the very things that break them. Number 6. They'll realize you're out of their league. Jealousy has a way of distorting reality, convincing people they can somehow measure up to or surpass the person they envy. But the truth is, no matter how hard they try, they can't compete with you. Karma's role in this is simple. It makes sure they come to the painful realization that they were never in your league to begin with. As they continue to focus on you, they'll eventually hit a wall. They'll see your resilience, your growth, your strength, and the life you've built, and realize just how far they fall short. The more they try to undermine or imitate you, the more obvious it becomes that they don't have the same foundation, the same drive, or the same ability to rise above challenges like you do. It's not about arrogance. It's about recognizing that you've put in the work, stayed true to yourself, and earned every success. And they'll have no choice but to acknowledge that no matter how much envy drives them, they'll never have what it takes to compete with you. Karma ensures they get this lesson hard. When they look at you, they're not just seeing someone they resent. They're seeing someone they could never be. It's a bitter pill to swallow, but it's a reality they can't escape. Their jealousy blinds them to the truth that they were always fighting a battle they were destined to lose. The moment they come to terms with this is when karma has done its work, proving that no amount of bitterness, sabotage, or jealousy can change the fact that you're simply on another level. Number 7. Their reputation will be their undoing. Jealousy has a way of unraveling a person from the inside out. And the worst part is that it always leaves a trail. When someone acts out of bitterness, it's only a matter of time before their true nature is exposed. Karma doesn't need to do much. It simply lets their actions speak for themselves. And the moment they start to undermine others, plot behind backs, or tear someone down, their reputation begins to shift in ways they can't control. Their words, once coated in sugar, begin to sour, and people start to see through the facade. The more they act out of jealousy, the more their reputation becomes a reflection of their own insecurities and bitterness. People who once supported them will distance themselves, and those who were on the receiving end of their jealousy will make sure the truth gets out. Karma doesn't just teach lessons, it ensures that those lessons stick. And in this case, it ensures that the reputation they've carefully crafted for so long is completely undone. Their name will no longer be associated with trust or respect. It will be linked to pettiness, manipulation, and negativity. It's not just about losing friends or social status. It's about realizing that the toxic energy they've put out into the world has completely transformed how people view them. Their reputation will precede them, but not in a way they ever intended. And that's when karma does its best work, turning their own actions into the chains that bind them, ensuring their legacy is one of envy and disgrace. Number 8. They'll learn the hard way that peace was always an option. Karma's ultimate lesson isn't just about consequences, it's about self-awareness. The hardest truth they'll ever face is the realization that all the chaos, jealousy, and bitterness they've spread could have been avoided. They could have chosen peace, focused on their own growth, and worked on their own happiness. Instead, they let their fixation on your downfall consume them. And in doing so, they sabotaged their own sense of fulfillment. As time passes, they'll look back and see the wasted energy, the unnecessary drama, and the relationships they burned because of their need to tear someone else down. They'll finally come to understand that peace was always an option, a choice they could have made at any point. But instead, they let jealousy guide them into a never-ending cycle of negativity and self-destruction. What they failed to realize in the moment of their obsession was that focusing on someone else's failure was never going to bring them the success or happiness they were craving. The only thing it brought them was emptiness. In the end, karma doesn't just punish. They'll be left with a deep, nagging sense of regret, knowing they could have used all that energy for something far more meaningful. The worst part of it all is that this lesson will hit them when they're least prepared to handle it. They'll be left alone with their thoughts, wondering how they ended up so lost, while you continue to build the life they tried so hard to ruin. The realization will sting because it's too late to turn back the clock. Peace, growth, and happiness were always within reach. They just chose to ignore it. Number 9. The energy you put out will eventually own you. Negativity is like a seed. They plant it, water it with their bitterness, and then act surprised when it grows into a vine that chokes them. Every time they tried to throw shade your way, they didn't realize they were digging their own grave. Energy is powerful, and it doesn't just disappear. The shade they threw, the rumors they spread, the sabotage they planned, it all carries weight. And that weight doesn't just vanish into thin air. It lingers, grows, and eventually comes right back around. What they failed to understand is that karma isn't about punishment. It's about balance. Their toxic energy doesn't harm you the way they hoped it would. Sure, it might sting for a moment, but it's temporary. That same energy, however, is building momentum in their own lives, planting chaos where they least expect it. Their career stumbles, relationships crumble, opportunities slip through their fingers. Why? Because you can't sow destruction without becoming a victim of it yourself. Here's the kicker. The more they focus on tearing you down, the less they focus on their own growth. While you're busy moving forward, they're stuck in a loop of their own negativity, replaying the same petty games, achieving nothing. It's like running on a treadmill thinking they're going somewhere. And karma loves irony. The very energy they sent out to hurt you is now coming back to remind them of what they could have had if they'd just focused on themselves. Instead, their own actions are about to be their undoing. Meanwhile, you keep building, thriving, and evolving, proving that no amount of shade can dim the light of someone who refuses to be held back. Their downfall isn't personal, it's physics. What goes around comes back around every single time. Number 10. Jealousy destroys from the inside first. Jealousy is like poison, but here's the catch. It doesn't hurt the target. It destroys the one holding on to it. Before karma even steps in, jealousy is already doing the dirty work, tearing them apart from the inside out. Every petty thought they direct at you is a weight they carry, dragging them further down. They obsess over your every move, replaying your victories in their minds like a broken record until they're stuck in an exhausting cycle of comparison and resentment. It starts small, a bitter thought here, a snide comment there. But jealousy is greedy. It feeds on itself, growing stronger with every envious glance until it becomes all-consuming. It eats away at their peace, their joy, and eventually, their identity. They can't focus on their own life because they're too busy measuring yours, and in doing so they rob themselves of growth and happiness. The saddest part? Jealousy blinds them to their own potential. Instead of working on themselves, they pour all their energy into wishing for your failure. But here's the irony. Their obsession doesn't stop your progress. It only amplifies your shine. While they're trapped in their bitterness, you're out there thriving, building, and living freely. And the toll jealousy takes on their body and mind is undeniable. Stress, anxiety, sleepless nights, these are the gifts jealousy leaves behind. It's not just emotional destruction, it's physical too. They've handed over control of their life to an emotion that thrives on their misery. Before karma even gets a chance to deliver its lessons, jealousy has already done half the job. The peace they tried to take from you, it's long gone from their own lives, leaving them trapped in a self-made prison of negativity. And that's the harsh truth they'll have to face. Number 11. Their efforts will amplify your success. When people try to sabotage you, they think they're being clever, but what they're really doing is signing up for a masterclass in unintended consequences. Every rumor they spread, every snide comment they make, and every attempt to undermine you only ends up drawing more attention to you. It's as if they've taken on a full-time role as your unofficial PR team, tirelessly promoting you while thinking they're tearing you down. Their constant chatter creates curiosity. People start asking, who is this person they're so obsessed with? And when they look into your life, they don't see the flaws these people are trying to highlight. Instead, they see your talent, your resilience, and your undeniable potential. In trying to tarnish your name, they've inadvertently shone a spotlight on you, making your success even more visible. Here's the kicker. Their efforts only make you stronger. Every time they try to knock you off balance, you learn to stand taller. Every challenge they throw your way forces you to adapt, grow, and prove them wrong in ways they never saw coming. What they intended as obstacles turn into stepping stones for your progress. And let's not forget the irony. The energy they waste plotting your downfall could have been spent improving their own lives. Instead, they're fueling your fire while their own ambitions burn out. The more they push against you, the brighter you shine, leaving them in the shadows of the very spotlight they tried to steal. So let them keep talking, keep scheming, and keep trying. They're only amplifying your success, turning their efforts into your biggest advantage. It's poetic, really, watching someone try to put out a fire only to end up feeding the flames. Number 12. They'll lose allies faster than they can keep up. Jealousy doesn't just harm the target. It alienates the people closest to the one holding on to it. At first, their allies might not notice the cracks in their character, but jealousy has a way of exposing itself over time. The snide remarks, the constant need to tear others down, and the bitterness seeping into every conversation, it all becomes impossible to ignore. People start realizing that being around them feels more draining than uplifting, and slowly but surely, they pull away. Nobody wants to associate with someone who thrives on negativity. Relationships, whether personal or professional, require trust and respect to flourish, and jealousy destroys both. Their allies begin to see that every move they make is fueled by envy, not genuine ambition or goodwill. Even those who once stood by their side start to question their motives. It's hard to trust someone who's so focused on sabotaging others. They could turn that same energy toward you at any moment. And here's the ironic twist. The more their jealousy isolates them, the more bitter they become. It's a vicious cycle. They push people away with their toxic behavior, then blame everyone else for abandoning them. Instead of reflecting on their actions, they double down, convinced that the world is against them. What they don't realize is that jealousy is self-sabotage in disguise. Every relationship they lose, every bridge they burn, is a direct consequence of their own actions. While they're left with nothing but their resentment, you're surrounded by genuine connections and people who uplift you. Their downfall isn't just losing allies. It's the realization that they've built a fortress of bitterness and now they're trapped in it alone. Number 13. Their insecurities will be exposed. Jealousy has a way of exposing the very things people desperately try to hide. It's not about the person they envy. It's about the cracks in their own armor that jealousy creates. Karma doesn't just punish their actions. It strips away their facade, revealing their deepest insecurities and flaws for everyone to see. The more they focus on tearing you down, the more their weaknesses are amplified, and the harder it is to hide the truth. Every spiteful comment, every attempt to undermine your progress only digs them deeper into a hole. They might think they're being clever or even victorious in their efforts, but all they're doing is putting their own vulnerabilities on display. The insecurities they've worked so hard to mask, whether it's a fear of failure, a lack of self-worth, or an overwhelming need for validation, become painfully obvious. Karma's work isn't just external, it's internal too. Their actions reflect back on them, and the more they lash out, the more their flaws are exposed. Whether it's through people distancing themselves, opportunities slipping through their fingers, or their own behavior becoming erratic and desperate, everything they've been hiding comes to light. And here's the kicker. It's not like they can hide from it. Their insecurities will become the subject of conversation. Their flaws will be the talk of the town, and they'll have nowhere to turn but inward. Karma doesn't just leave them with consequences, it leaves them with a mirror, one that forces them to face who they really are. The harder they try to deflect attention from their own inadequacies, the more the world will see them for what they truly are, insecure, bitter, and consumed by envy. Listen, chosen ones. As we wrap up, jealousy has a way of exposing the very things people desperately try to hide. It's not about the person they envy. It's about the cracks in their own armor that jealousy creates. Karma doesn't just punish their actions, it strips away their facade, revealing their deepest insecurities and flaws for everyone to see. The more they focus on tearing you down, the more their weaknesses are amplified, and the harder it is to hide the truth. Every spiteful comment, every attempt to undermine your progress, only digs them deeper into a hole. They might think they're being clever or even victorious in their efforts, but all they're doing is putting their own vulnerabilities on display. The insecurities they've worked so hard to mask, whether it's a fear of failure, a lack of self-worth, or an overwhelming need for validation, become painfully obvious. Karma's work isn't just external, it's internal too. Their actions reflect back on them, and the more they lash out, the more their flaws are exposed. Whether it's through people distancing themselves, opportunities slipping through their fingers, or their own behavior becoming erratic and desperate, everything they've been hiding comes to light. And here's the kicker. It's not like they can hide from it. Their insecurities will become the subject of conversation. Their flaws will be the talk of the town, and they'll have nowhere to turn but inward. Karma doesn't just leave them with consequences, it leaves them with a mirror, one that forces them to face who they really are. The harder they tried to deflect attention from their own inadequacies, the more the world will see them for what they truly are, insecure, bitter, and consumed by envy. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video. Bye for now and stay blessed.